What is going on, y'all? Robert Sikes, ketosavage.com, coming at you with another AMA. This one is brought to us by Leonetta, and she's asking about when you've reached your caloric allotment for the day, what's going to happen if your protein exceeds your fat? But before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. And we're back. All right, so Leonetta asks, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Hey, Savages, great content. What happens if your protein is slightly higher than your fat once you've reached your allotted calories and macros at the end of the night? Thanks. All right, so good question. And honestly, I hate the answer when the answer is it depends, but it kind of depends. So I don't know if you're in a caloric deficit. I don't know if you're in a caloric surplus. But at the end of the day, here's what it comes down to. If you're taking in ample calories for your goals, if you're taking in ample protein for your goals, and at the end of the day, you've reached your caloric allotment, and your protein is higher than your fat, this is what you have to kind of run into. If you're following a ketogenic diet and your approach and your goal is to become as fat adapted as possible and leverage fat, both dietary fat and stored fat, as your primary fuel source, if you're not consuming enough fat and then you start making up that additional caloric intake from protein and not fat, then you're going to be kind of sacrificing some potential energy there. So the whole how much protein should you consume is a really hot, controversial topic right now. But if you are consuming adequate protein, if you're consuming enough protein and you are basically going higher in protein than dietary fat, you have to realize that there is a potential in which case you are sacrificing some energy by consuming additional protein beyond what is necessary in favor of that instead of dietary fat. So protein is obviously incredibly important. Dietary fat is incredibly important. Protein is not a great substrate for energy. So I know this is kind of vague depending on if you're in a building phase, cutting phase. So let me just kind of break this down in a hypothetical situation. So if I am in a building phase and I'm consuming, like right now my body weight is 180 pounds. So if I'm consuming 180 grams of protein, I am totally consuming adequate protein for my recovery and muscle building desires. Now, if at the end of the day, I've got 3,400 calories to work with and I'm in a building phase, and I have the option of either consuming more fat or more protein, I'm personally going to go for more fat, because more protein beyond a certain point, there's like a point of diminishing returns. Like there's not really going to be any inherent benefit to that. At a building phase, I'm totally satiated anyways, so it's not like the protein is going to create more satiety because I'm already satiated. I'm taking in ample protein for my muscle building and recovery needs. So if I'm consuming more protein than fat at that point, then I'm leaving some energy on the table. And if I'm in a building phase and my goal is to build more muscle, then I'm training very hard and intensely. So I have very high energy demands at that point. If I'm consuming that many calories, my metabolic rate's revving on all 8 cylinders, and I have a lot of output. I need more energy to power my more intense training sessions to continue to implement progressive overload. So in that context, if I'm consuming adequate protein, I'm going to make any additional calories come from dietary fats. That's where my energy comes from. So hopefully that answers your question, Leonetta. Thank you so much for the question. You requested some chocolate peanut butter cup bricks, so I've got some of those headed your way. For anybody that does not know how these AMA videos work, if you submit me a well-thought-out question via the Google description or via the Google form in the description below, and I use your question on an AMA video, then I will send you some free keto bricks with the flavor of your choosing. Thank you all so very much, and I'll talk to you next time.